It's speculation time. What's good, Chaotic Nation? It is your boy Chaos here. This time of year is very important for Pokemon fans. We begin to theorize what's next for Pokemon. Often this time of year is looked at as a time where we are in transition between the previous game and what will be the next game. As we know right now, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has DLC that is coming out this fall and in the winter, so obviously there's not going to be a new game that is coming out in 2023, but we can look forward to 2024 and see what potentially might be the next game. I'm doing a little bit of my own kind of speculation in this video. I'm not really saying that the game I'm picking is going to get a remake. I'm just kind of offering an alternative to this game that could be really good, and also I think would make sense for Pokemon to do at some point in the future. Probably not now, but they could eventually get to this as an idea for a game that they would do. The game I'm suggesting is Pokemon Sword and Shield. There's a lot of elements in Sword and Shield that have the potential to make a really good remake and to have a really good story that is different from the original quest that we go on in Pokemon Sword and Shield, making it a really nice candidate for an alternative game. I know Sword and Shield is not going to be the next game. I understand that. It's too recent for them to even begin thinking about probably making a remake of Sword and Shield. But here's some ideas that I have for what Sword and Shield could look like when it gets its remake. Pokemon obviously have been trying this open world element with their games recently. We've seen it with Pokemon Legends Arceus, and we've seen it with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But I don't think either of those have hit the nail on the head. Sword and Shield did have some of these elements with the wild area, giving you a chance to roam around without a set path. So you could find Pokemon that you wanted to use, talk to trainers, interact with NPCs, find items, get TMs, all the good stuff you would do in your journey normal. But it was an open experience that allowed you to explore at your leisure or choose not to explore. You could go straight from the first train station into Motostoke, you could go straight from Motostoke to Hammerlock, not explore at all, and still have a relatively good experience. Or you could take time and go to every little nook and cranny, find every item that is potentially out there, find every Pokemon, catch that, complete your decks. All of that is available to you right from the beginning of Sword and Shield, which makes it a really cool game. And I think it is the best iteration of an open world game. The problem I have with open world Pokemon games is they have never hit the nail on the head, as I said. They have never achieved what we expected them to achieve. Most open world games, I look at games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which have done open world phenomenally, have experiences where you can do anything in any order. There is no limit to what you can do. There is no inhibitors to going to a certain place. You can do shrines in any order. You can find Koroks. You can go side quest. You can do the main story right away. You can go frickin' fight the final boss 5 minutes into the game if you choose to. It's not recommended, but you could do that. You can do a lot of things in Breath of the Wild, which makes the game so much fun because there's so much ability to do your own story path. Whereas Pokemon's always kind of been linear. It always has had like a storyline. But that's changed with Scarlet and Violet. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was really the first true open world experience where we weren't limited by anything. If you wanted to go to the final gym, you could go fight the final gym. If you wanted to go to the north part of the map, from the very beginning, you had access to that. The only issue with Scarlet and Violet and where it comes short is there is no level scaling. The biggest thing I was concerned about going into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was that they were not going to level scale, and we saw this with the game. An open world game, especially with Pokemon that based so much on this leveling system, needs to have a universal level that happens within the game. We see this in Sword and Shield with the wild area. They start out, you know, a little bit higher level than you. I think they're about level 15 or so Pokemon in that wild area when you get there for the first time. But when we go to Scarlet and Violet, the levels stay the same throughout the entire game. Regardless of how many gym badges you have, regardless if you become the champion, the levels are a stagnant level and they stay that way based on the area that you're in. Sword and Shield, what they do is after you get a certain number of badges, the levels change. So after you beat the first 3 gyms, the levels get a little bit more difficult, the Pokemon become harder to catch, but once the game is completed, everything in the wild area is level 60, static, and that's what you get. Scarlet and Violet failed on doing this properly and now has the issue of making an open world game that is incredibly linear. There is a set path to play Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If you watch my Scarlet Surprise Lock, you saw that I did Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in a particular order. I went through every major event in the story, whether that be a Team Star event, or a Titan, or the actual gym battles, we went through them in order based on level. So there is a unofficial level system in the game that makes you do the story in a particular way. You start out with the first gym, you go to the second gym, you do the team star. There's a leveling path that you have to follow with the game if you don't want to become over leveled, because ultimately if you're just doing this gym challenge in a row, you're gonna get to the end of the gym challenge and then, oh, the first team star person is like level 20. Oh, I'm level 50 Pokemon. Why? This is not a problem at all. But this would really take into account the leveling system and make the game level with you. That's just one of the things I really want to incorporate with this game if I get a chance to make it. And I think it would be really cool, specifically for Sword and Shield, for a few reasons. Pokemon Sword and Shield heavily relies on a gym challenge aspect of the game. Your whole point is to, once you get your sponsorship, you take on the gym challenge, you become the champion by defeating Leon. Sure, there's some side points with Rose and the Darkest Day and the history and the lore of the game, but there's no really other big elements that happen. You're not fighting an evil team, you're not stopping anything like that. The Darkest Day just kind of happens right at the end of the game, and you jump into it and save the day. And you go on and fight Leon and win the game. Simple enough. There's no major plot points outside of the gym challenge, which gives Sword and Shield a major focus on gyms. So what they could do differently here, if they want to focus on gyms and they want to focus on the sporting element that is so popular in the British culture, which is where the games are based on, if you weren't aware of that, we need to play into that sport element a little bit more and amp up that part of the region, which would make Galar really unique in quite a fun way. I'm going to change the story a little bit of this game to make it more fit the kind of mold that I'm looking for, and we kind of get what I'm basing it off of in the actual game. I look at the gym system, and you really don't fight the first gym for quite some time. I was doing a playthrough where I was only using shiny Pokemon, and I didn't even make it to the first gym without putting like 300 hours into the game because I was shiny hunting. There is so much time that can happen between the beginning of the game and the first gym that you fight in Galar. So why don't we take advantage of that and do something really cool? The early game of this new version of Sword and Shield would require you to earn a sponsorship. We see this as a little piece of the beginning of Sword and Shield, where Hop is trying to convince his older brother Leon, who's the champion, to give him a sponsorship so he can take on the gym challenge. Hop is ready to take on the gym challenge. He wants to be better than his brother Lee, and he wants you to join him on his journey. Of course, you do get that sponsorship once Lee sees you fight Hop and defeat him at the beginning of the game, so you earn the sponsorship in a sense that way, which is really cool because Leon never gives out sponsorships. This is the first 2 sponsorships he's given out ever in the history that Leon's been the champion of the region. And I think it would be really cool to take advantage of this sponsorship idea and play off of it to make a really fun early game of Pokemon. The early game of this new alternate version would require you to earn your sponsorship. You can earn a sponsorship in many different ways. You can complete gym tasks, like completing gym puzzles or doing tasks for gym leaders specifically. You can get Pokédex completion and earn a sponsorship from the professor of the region based on the number of Pokemon you have found in the dex. Like if there's a 400 limit in the Pokédex like there is in Sword and Shield, maybe it's getting 50 Pokemon earns you a sponsorship. Kind of like how you have rewards in Scarlet or Violet for completing certain levels of dex completion. You could also like win tournaments. There might be like a local pop-up tournament that happens in a town. There might be some special things that are going on in an individual city that could allow you to earn a sponsorship that way. This also would be a really cool aspect for Leon as he's trying to give out sponsorships. Maybe in this version, Leon only awards 1 sponsorship a year, and you have to earn that by becoming the best trainer in a tournament. So you are the undefeated champion of the tournament. The undefeated champion rewards you with a sponsorship. The other really cool aspect of this is I thought of like a Skyrim element of the game where you are helping locals. Similar to how Skyrim works, once you complete so many tasks for the local people, you get the access to receive the status of Jarl in that city. You could do something similar in Pokemon where there are a bunch of side quests that happen that you could have the trainers or NPCs ask for. You go find, like finding Pokemon or showing dex entries for this thing. You could do that in this game, and it would be really cool. That would also be able to tie in elements like Legends Arceus, where you have a level 10 dex or a perfect dex entry for a Pokemon, which could be another way to shiny hunt later on. But that would be a really fun aspect, and it would definitely play off the side quests that were in Jubilife Village as part of this game. I think it's a really good way to complement all of the elements of the open world and put them into one game that is actually done really, really nicely. Once you complete that, the gym leader or a mayor or somebody official in the town will reward you with a gym sponsorship, and that you can go on and fight the gyms. As I said, this version of the game is an open world game, and that means you can complete the gyms in any order. The map is completely open to you, and you have access to flying with Corviknight from the beginning with the taxi service. That would allow you to go anywhere you've already been, and allows you to start anywhere you want to start. You could start this out by having the player start in the starting towns. There's obviously not a lot in Postwick and Wedgehurst to get you started. There's a few things and some subliminal stuff that get you started with the game, like picking your starter, plot line, and earning your first sponsorship. But once you get past that area, you really don't come back there until you go back to the Slumbering Well. This would give you the opportunity to take the train to the wild area, or take a train to any of the towns that you'd want to go visit. Obviously there is a train system and most towns have a train, so you could take a train to any town you wanted to start in at that point. Once you leave Wedgehurst, you get to choose your destiny. You get to choose if you want to go straight to a town, if you want to go to the wild area and catch a Pokemon to complete your dex, if you want to go train in a certain area or become a master or a hero in this local village. You have the opportunity to do what you want right from the beginning of the game. Of course, every Pokemon game is going to have that precursory beginning to the game where you get your starter, where you get your Pokedex, where they explain what's going on, where you understand what you're trying to do, and then you're free to do whatever you want. So you have this one little specific area that gets you to begin your journey, and then everything else is open. You can go straight to Winden if you want to, and maybe find Rose and get something from Rose to do as tasks like for him. We see Bede go around and collect like the wishing stars. Maybe there's a way for you to like go mining and implement elements from the Sinnoh region when you have the underground mining, and you can go find wishing stars in the mines of Galar and bring those back and get a sponsorship from the chairman himself. It'd be a really cool aspect, and there's a lot of these really little intricate side quests that you could put into the game that would make it so much fun to earn a sponsorship at the beginning of Sword and Shield. The real thing is like when you actually have earned your sponsorship, then you can begin your gym challenge. And as I said, the gyms would have to be open as well and would have to scale based on how many gym badges you have, because otherwise it's going to be really too easy to fight some of these gyms. I started out with level 20 as our first gym level because I feel like this is good middle ground. It's not too early, it's not too late. It gives you some chance to evolve some Pokemon and build a team the way you want to build it. So you would start out with an early 20s gym as your first Pokemon gym. Each gym subsequently would increase levels by like 5 levels or so. So the second gym would be late 20s, the third gym would be early 30s, the fourth gym would be late 30s, the fifth gym would be early 40s, the sixth gym would be late 40s, the seventh gym would be early 50s, and the late gym would be late 50s, which sets you up really nicely for the Champions Cup, having everybody be that level 60 that we talked about earlier in the video, because all the wild area Pokemon are going to be set to level 60. All the people in that tournament are going to be set to early 60s. Maybe you can have Leon be like 66, 67, so he's a little bit stronger than everybody else, and it makes the tournament a little bit more fun. I really feel like the leveling element is a really important part of this alternate version of the game, because if you don't have it, the game falls apart completely. Scarlet and Violet was that way. It was such a fun experience the first time around, but there's no replayability, and there's no way to replay the game in a sense that you can choose your own path. That's really what the fun part is about these open world games, is you can choose where you want to go. You can pick any sort of quest you want to do, you can pick any sort of thing you want to focus on, and that becomes your mission throughout the game. Scarlet and Violet did not have that. They had a set level system, as I said. I had to play the game that way, and I will probably, every time I play Scarlet and Violet, play the game that way, just because it won't be fun for me to skip to like the third gym and then go back and fight the first gym when I'm like 10 levels higher than it. It's just going to be too easy, and I liked myself a little bit of a challenge. So I'm hoping that by scaling the levels, we make a little bit of a challenge here for these gym trainers. That's my thoughts on an alternate version of Pokemon Sword and Shield. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I think this could be a really fun game, and it implements a lot of these really unique features that we've seen in the last couple years into a Pokemon game. Obviously, Game Freak has kind of struggled with some sort of semblance of an open world game as they try to compete with other major titles out there, and everybody's trying to be the next Breath of the Wild. Everybody's trying to be that next Breath of the Wild, and Game Freak's obviously struggling with that, and the level caps are really hindering them. They aren't thinking about how to play the game in a sense that makes the open world a lot of fun. Sure, the whole map is open, and that's awesome, but when you can only catch a select few Pokemon, why is the whole map open at that point? It really should just be routes, and it really should just be a linear story at that point. If you're gonna make it open world, you need to fully make it open world and not just kind of half do it. Which really makes me upset about Scarlet and Violet, because they could be really good games, but they just fell short. I offer you this version of Sword and Shield because I think it would be a lot of fun, and I honestly would love to see it. I think it's a great attempt at a new open world game that would truly work for the Pokemon fan base, and also take elements of the main series game into an open world. Obviously, the open world would work so much better in a side game or a spin-off game, and there's still that debate with Legends Arceus. Is it actually a main story game, or is it some sort of like spin-off series that is part of the Pokemon universe? Who knows? You can let me know that in the comment section down below, and let me know what you think of this video down there as well. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more of the content here on the channel, and you go down in the description below to check out all my links. I'm on Twitter, Discord, Twitch, TikTok, and I have another YouTube channel, Invisible Corporation, where I personally do non-Pokemon content, but we still do some Pokemon content over there. So if you enjoy Pokemon, please still go check it out. And thank you for supporting me on all these platforms and supporting this video. That's all I got for you today. Thank you for watching, and until next time, my name is Chaos. I'm signing off. Stay safe, and as always, burn it up.